Alrighty then. So, I'm sure many of you have noticed that pop culture has become widespread and very, very popular. We've always been around, and there are very, very different definitions of how we consider pop culture, but pop culture as we know it nowadays. So, video gamers and comic book nerds and all of that. So there are a lot of phrases and terms that we of the pop culture society, culture, have a tendency to use quite often. And other people who are not involved in this don't always know what these words mean. And so I want to try and inform some of you as to what they mean, where they came from, so you'll have a better understanding. I'm hopefully going to be doing this over a span of 6 or 7 videos, each with a different topic that I'm going to focus on. So today we're doing basic terms. And the first basic term is fandom. Fandom. Now, the origin of the word fandom comes from fan, which is coming from the word fanatic. And the suffix dom is like from kingdom, those sort of words. And it can actually, believe it or not, this word can be traced as far back as to 1903, which it first got started in America, and they largely used it to reference sports fans, which I'm not surprised, because comics weren't really as big in 1903, I wouldn't think, as was, sports. So, but that's how long this term has been around. The term fandom has been around since 1903. Now, the definition, or what this term is usually referring to, is a subculture that is largely composed of fans that share a very specific and common interest. And they tend to put a very significant amount of their own time out of their life and their own energy into being very, very involved in this interest. So, for example, Star Trek. For example, Star Wars. Lord of the Rings. Pirates of the Caribbean. Anime. There are many, many, many different types. Tons. Magic the Gathering is considered a fandom. There's tons of different fandoms. And a fandom, it can be focused primarily on a celebrity, for example, Justin Bieber, or Tom Hiddleston, Benedict Cumberbatch, Robert Downey Jr., Lady Gaga. Their fandom does not have to be focused on just a person. It can also be focused on the bigger things, like Star Trek and Star Wars and Doctor Who. And many people believe that those of us that are very involved in fandoms tend to have no social life. That is far from the truth. Those of us that are a part of fandoms tend to get a lot of social interaction. It's just not face-to-face necessarily. A lot of the time it's from just general online interactions, social networking, Tumblr, LiveJournal, fanfiction.net. There are many ways in which we get our social interaction. We want to communicate with others with our same interest. So, that's fandom. Fandom. The next word we're going to move on to is another word you're going to hear quite often, and that is shipping and pairing. Now, shipping and pairing, the term shipping is taken from the word relationship. ship, relationship. And where or when it first originated, we don't know. That is one of the things that has become lost to pop culture history. By definition, shipping is the belief that two characters, fictional or non-fictional, or even real people, would be interesting or believable in a romantic relationship. And one of the first ships that was very well known and extremely popular was Kirk and Spock from the original Star Trek. Also Goku and Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Those are two of the very, very early on big shipping sort of phenomenons that took place, that started it off. And a fan that is involved with shipping is called a shipper. So, for example, I am a shipper. And there are various ways of showing the pairings you ship. For example, there's Destiel, which is Dean and Castiel. And those are portmanteaus. So you've got Steric, which is Styles and Derek. That's one of the ways that you can do names of pairings. Another version is Captain Swan, which is a title for Captain Hook and Emma Swan from Once Upon a Time. There's also taser tricks. Those are more of like just a title, like a cute little title that they give them. And taser tricks is Loki and Darcy from Avengers. Then you've got the, you know, Steve and Darcy, which would be, you would, if you don't have a title for it, you would do Steve X, the letter X, Darcy, or Steve / Darcy. And then you've got puppy shipping, which is another way of saying it. It's not as common, you don't find it as often. Nowadays, the bigger ways of doing it is doing a portmanteau or giving it a title. But puppy shipping is Kaiba and Joey from Yu-Gi-Oh! Those are just some of the different ways that that ships are usually titled. And that's what you call a pairing that you like. It's a ship. And I don't just have one ship, I have an armada of ships. So now we're going to go to the next word. This is a word, these are two terms that you have heard before, that almost everyone has heard before. You might not know what it is, but it's been used. Canon and Fanon. And yeah, I drew a little fan and a cannon thing. Forgive my very terrible artwork. So, Canon and Fanon. In fiction, canon is the conceptual material that is generally accepted as official in a fictional universe's fan base. For example, Pepper and Tony in Iron Man. They're in a relationship. That is canon. Pepper Potts is portrayed as a redhead in Iron Man movies. Canon. Or maybe more of a strawberry blonde, but kind of a redhead. Thor wields a mighty hammer. Mjolnir. That is canon. Loki is the god of mischief. That is canon. That is what is accepted as official in a fictional universe's fan base. It is used in two different regards for two different instances. So the first one is canon refers to the overall set of a storyline, settings, characters that are presented in the original media. And then the other version of canon, the other instance that canon is used, is it's used as a descriptor of specific incidents, relationships, or story arcs that take place, in an overall canon plot line. So in regards to the first instance, Tony and Bruce and Thor and Steve and Clint and Natasha are all a part of Avengers. That's canon. In reference to the second instance, it's more of Tony and Pepper are canon. Clint and Natasha had some sort of a relationship in the past. That is canon. The opposite of canon is Fanon. And that is a portmanteau of fan and canon. Fanon. Fanon is never, ever regarded as canonical. Ever. Fanon is not canon. Fanon, in regards to relationships, can occasionally, very rarely, depending on the relationship, become canon. Destiel, I'm looking at you. Hopefully. Also Steric. So, Fanon is never regarded as canonical. It is more of when certain ideas become widely accepted within the community. So, Thor having a Pop-Tart addiction. Steve Rogers not knowing how to use an iPod. Things like that. That's more Fanon. And canon, yeah, canon is, it happened. It's real. It is official from the creators. Fanon is not official at all. Whatsoever. And pairings can be canon. Pairings can be Fanon. But that'll be discussed later. Canon and Fanon. The next term is, I'm not going to go too into it because I'm going to go into this sort of stuff later. In around the third or fourth video. And this is Slash. Now, Slash is a term used to refer solely in regards to same-sex relationships. These relationships are largely very explicit in nature. Not for little kids' eyes. In regards to the genders involved, it's usually shown as M/M or F/F, also known as fem/. Practically all slash is Fanon, not canon. So, for example, Sirius/Lupin in Harry Potter, Fanon. Harry Potter and Draco, Fanon. Ginny and Hermione, Fanon. Not canon. Not canon. No. Willow and Tara in Buffy, yes, that was canon. And that is slash. I will acknowledge that. Willow and Buffy, Fanon. Some original creators, such as, J.K. Rowling, is more forgiving of slash pairings. But she has stated that Drarry is not canon at all. Not canon. And that's essentially slash. Homoerotic relationships. Yummy. Next word, last word, is OTP, and OT3. Now, OTP is an acronym for the term One True Pairing. And one of the first uses to this term was in 1984 in regards to a Kirk Spock fanfiction. OT3 is an acronym for One True Threesome. This term has become widespread in use by around the early 2000s. An OT3 would be Harry, Ron, Hermione, Grimjaw/Renji/Ichigo. the Doctor slash Jack slash Rose as a pairing. When a person deems a ship, which is a pairing, a ship, their OTP, that means that they have essentially, they're coming out to say, flat out, that they have very strong emotional attachment to this relationship, and that no other relationship could live up to the potential of their OTP. Harry and Ginny would be an OTP for some people. For me, it's more Sirius than Lupin, but and most individuals have several OTPs, but that was not the case when the term first started in 1984. Usually, it was one fandom. That was it. That pairing was your life. Kirk, Spock, their life. That was all they wrote about. That was all that they read about. That was all that they were into. Nowadays, a person can have several OTPs. But it's usually, the rule still applies that it's usually one OTP per fandom. For example, Steric, Derek slash Styles from Teen Wolf. My OTP for Teen Wolf. Romy, which is Rogue slash Remy from X-Men. Destiel, Dean slash Castiel from Supernatural. Marcus and Anya from Gears of War. I mean, Garrus and Shepard. I love Garrus and Shepard from Mass Effect. Fenris and Hawk from Dragon Age 2. You have one pairing that is your OTP, your one true pairing for that one fandom. And that's it. There's no two OTPs for one fandom. So, that is OTP. OTP. And essentially that has been a Sane Fangirls rant. I am hopefully going to be doing the next video on specifically fanfiction terms. So if you don't know anything about fanfiction and some of our terminology, that is going to be my next video. Hopefully I'll have it up by next week. If you have any other questions or other terms you want me to go over, or you want me to go more in depth with some of these terms, feel free to leave a comment, send me a message, and I hope this helped some people out. I hope this was informative. Alright. Well then, this is me, Gabi, signing out from a Sane Fangirls rant. And I have some fanfiction to go read about my OTPs. I will see you all for the next video on fanfiction.